a lot of money out
Right.
there when a guy doesn't go in the field.
That's interesting, like that point of view. Yeah.
But by not going in the field, he saves his body. You could say he saves his body. You know, this could be a situation like Ortiz. Ortiz kind of had a late surge in his career where he was still hitting bombs, you know, doing really well through his 40th birthday.
But it doesn't happen that often.
No.
You know, but it does prolong your career. It gives you, but again, if you don't have an offensive DH, there's no sense having one.
Right.
That's true. What do you see in Schwarber? Yeah, he's hit home runs since he got. What's the difference between him this year and, say, to speak, the years before?
You know what? I noticed last night when he gets ready, all of a sudden the angle of his bat goes more this way.
Yeah.
He gets it. He does all this, but then when it comes time to move it, he's
He's got it back the other way.
You know, he does have a slight uppercut, but that's
slight. But it's slight though. It's not stupid.
Exactly, it's slight. Other than that, his bat stays in the zone very, very well, and you know,
Sort of reminds me of Mickey Tettleton. You remember Mickey used to lay it down a little bit?
Yeah. Well, he does it right before.
Okay.
You know, and I really noticed it last night on a couple home runs and how he gets ready. And he's got a short swing.
He relaxes and then he gets it up and then he lets it. Yeah.
Lets it go.
And his bat speed, I mean, that's
because he's short.
right.
If he was long and dragged out, you know, take his swing and then compare it to our second baseman's swing.
Yeah.
Now you want to see a drag swing?
Right.
Yeah.
Look, stop, and his right shoulder up, his backside drop. You know,
He gives you a lot of weak fly balls to left.
yeah, weak. I think he leads the league in fly balls to left field, but you know, I just can't believe a player like him doesn't take something from a left-hand hitter that he's got in front of him, like Harper, you know, and Schwarber, and take something from there and see that they're not swinging up.
Do you think, I mean, I'm looking at you we're talking about Schwarber, so obviously they're big, strong men. You were the same way. You had this in your wrist and stuff. Is that something maybe Stott? I mean, obviously they work on their strength in different things. I don't know what was wrong with him last year, but they said he was banged up. I don't know if it was elbow or something. If that got him in the bad, he couldn't work like he needed
I don't know.
to.
I think his swing was better 2 years ago.
Oh God, yeah. There was no question. We talked about it a ton. You know?
You know, now I don't know what they're working on or what they're doing to him, but you know, I was telling Utley, I said, Utley, I got a job for you, and he kept saying, "What's that?" I says, you need to go in there and talk to Stott about hitting. I said, you never swung up at a ball, did you? He said, no, I swung down through it and then finished it off. And I says, well, why don't you just go in there and build his confidence? And Utley laughed. He said, I can get you in the clubhouse. And he started laughing. He said,
I can get to the clubhouse.
you don't think I can get in the clubhouse? I said, no, you get in there. I said, come on, I'll go with you. And he was funny. I'd say I saw him the next day. I said, "Hey, did you do your job?" And he said, "No." He said, "I didn't have time."
Yeah.
You got to grease him with some free ribs if he goes in there and does that, right? At Bull's Barbecue. All right, coming up on the show, Bull. Let's go through a little of your career because you know what? I was going back just for fun, and man, you had some big moments. So we'll go through your career. You're listening to the Bull Session presented by BCWSA. We're live from Chickies and Pete's in South Philadelphia.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky Pete's. Our selection of seasonal cocktails make any meal better. Come sip and enjoy our bourbon cherry lemonade, made with small batch bourbon, muddled fruits, and refreshing juices. What a winner! Is fruit your flavor? Try a watermelon shandy cocktail. A smoky grapefruit with mezcal and fresh lime. Or sip and enjoy a berry martini. All pair perfectly with our seasonal menu features. Come sip and enjoy at Chickies and Pete's.
Head out to Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley and South Olds Boulevard, to get all your essentials in one place, with the following businesses ready to serve you: Pat Dion Beverages, CVS Pharmacy, Hair Cuttery, Smile Culture Dental, Biomat, Liberty Auto Tags, Pennsylvania Fine Wine and Spirits, Lee's Hoagie House, R&J Smoothies and Juices, AutoZone, and First National Bank and Trust of Newtown. Make Dion Square your one stop for all your shopping needs at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard in Fairless Hills.
With over 7,200 square feet of 200 brewers in stock at all times, Pat Dion Beverages now features 5 different flavors of their favorite slushy cocktails. You can also purchase all your wine, liquor, and other fine spirits right next door. Visit us on Facebook or online at patdionbeverages.com for upcoming events and samples from your favorite brewery or local food vendor.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at PennCommunityBank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky Pete's. Our selection of seasonal cocktails make any meal better. Come sip and enjoy our bourbon cherry lemonade, made with small batch bourbon, muddled fruits, and refreshing juices. What a winner! Is fruit your flavor? Try a watermelon shandy cocktail. A smoky grapefruit with mezcal and fresh lime. Or sip and enjoy a very berry martini. All pair perfectly with our seasonal menu features. Come sip and enjoy at Chickies and Pete's.
Your hosts, Phillies Director of Fun and Games, John Brazer, and Tommy Greene.
All right, we are back to the Bull Session presented by BCWSA live from Chickies and Pete's in South Philadelphia. I'm John Brazer, joined by my co-host Tommy Greene, our guest Greg the Bull Luzinski. And Greg, as I mentioned before we went to break, is that I want to kind of go through your career because it's amazing, Tommy. So you were born in Chicago, right? And
Yep.
I know that
Chi-Town.
And I know that you were recruited big time by Notre Dame. And were you going to be like a linebacker, or were you going to be like more of like a fullback?
I have no idea. Probably a fullback. Obviously I could block and
you could run back then, huh?
a lot of these back then I could run. But a lot of the offenses back then were, obviously fullback blocking for the blocking back and gaining a yard or two for first downs.
I can see you doing that back in the
Cloud
day.
of dust.
The tough yards. So
It was Eric Parsegan, the
yeah,
coach then? So did he come into your parents' house?
Joe Pagna was the backfield coach.
Okay.
So, he recruited me, and actually, an old coach of mine left the high school I was at and went and was the defensive line. Joe Yano was the defensive line coach for the Irish. So, I had a connection through him, and we had a couple players previously, not 4 or 5 years before me, go there. So, they knew they scouted the school pretty good.
How were those teams how were they good that era? Like if you had gone to Notre Dame, how good were those teams back then?
They'd been better, right?
Well,
Because you went there.
Theismann
They would have been better, yeah.
Theismann would have been the quarterback.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Would you have allowed him?
There's your answer, Braze.
Would you have allowed him to change his name from Thiesman to Theismann to rhyme with Heisman?
I don't know his first name, but I probably would have called him 7.
Which ones you like to do more?
I think that was his number.
Which ones you like? Do you like the fullback position or linebacker position or something?
Well,
Like a better
I like them
defense?
both.
Oh, did you?
And the funny part about it, people talk about football and baseball. That the draft was only a couple years old, so that wasn't a big thing. And I played varsity ball since I was a freshman, and didn't think about even playing baseball.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden scouts start coming around, and more and more scouts came around, and then obviously I was like 11th in the country, and I signed a baseball contract. But I was going to play football till really the draft came along, and all of a sudden I was like 11th in the country. I said, wow,
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you were. When was the first draft? It was probably like 67, 66, something like that.
I was like 68.
You were 68.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. That was one of the first. I didn't think about that. And you were picked with the 11th overall pick.
Yeah.
Obviously first round.
I was picked off of film.
So you didn't really have anybody come out to see you in person.
Well, the scout for our area was in the hospital, for the Chicago, Illinois area. So Paul Owens was a scouting director, minor league guy, and he sent Patty Cottrell from California out. And Patty took films with me, and actually in batting practice, and sent them to Paul. And Paul drafted me off those films.
Huh.
That's impressive.
That's very impressive. And then, which was also unbelievably impressive, 1970, September 9th, 1970, you made your Major League Baseball debut, pinch hitting, in a loss to the Mets at Shea. You're 19 years old. Now, this is incredible.
You come up at 19, huh?
I'm second year in college at 19 years old. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. Tommy, you were probably in single A, maybe, right? At 19.
Yeah.
Right, single A.
I turned
maybe?
19. I was an A-ball.
Right.
Because I was drafted out of high school.
And Bull, within 2 years of being drafted, is coming up at he's a teenager, and he's pitching.
That's impressive.
What was
right
that
there.
like coming up as a teenager?
Well,
You didn't know any better, obviously, but
No, I forget. I think I pinch hit, and Ray Sadecki was the pitcher for New York Mets. I think 13 strikeouts at the time, and I think I was 14. But
right.
I remember striking out on a slider down and in, one of those back foot type sliders, and
One of the lefty specials, huh?
yeah. But the funny part about that is, as I progressed playing baseball, I could hit the down and in pitch.
Right.
I didn't have problems with it, but yeah, it's a little nerve wracking. You're 19 years old and you're playing against big leaguers that have been. Some of these
Right.
guys have been there 10 years already, and so
A little different walking in the clubhouse back then with those guys these days. A little bit, right?
No question. I mean, I remember I was talking about this with Bo. I said, "Do you remember when we used to go to Shea Stadium?" I said, and then we used to have the probable pitchers for the next series, and I said to him, "Do you see the probable?" He said, "No. What are they?" I said, "Seaver, Kuzman, and Ryan."
right. Well,
Good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Yeah, take a lot of bats with you.
when you look at your numbers, they're like super impressive. You had 7,518 plate appearances. You had 880 runs, 1,795 hits, 344 doubles, 24 triples. You had 307 home runs, 1,128 RBIs, 845 walks, 1,495 strikeouts, which is not that many especially when you're comparing in the average to the modern day, certainly. But your average, 276, Tommy.
That's getting it done, dude.
276 average.
That's getting it done.
And then, I know that, you probably just hate hearing from somebody, about the Black Friday, but that casts a shadow over. Bull led the league in fielding percentage in 73. He was routinely among the league leaders in assists. But I think that, people forget how good of a fielder you really were.
Well,
They forget the athlete that you were.
The athlete that you were.
I don't forget I had a great center fielder, probably one of the best of all time.
Oh,
yeah.
Secretary of Defense.
Gary Maddox, So it made it a little bit easier. And on Black Friday, that ball never hit the wall. The ball went straight up. If it would have hit the wall, it would have bounced
Right.
this way. It didn't. It hit tip of my glove and went straight up. And obviously, there's umpires can't see anyways most of the time.
Right.
I have to agree with you on that one, Bull.
Yeah, and I threw it to second base.
Yep.
And the big play was Sizemore. Sizemore missed the ball.
Right.
And allowed.
And I think Garber and Schmidt made some errors before that, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that happened, but the play where Lopes was safer,
Right.
out at first base. I always say to Bo, I said, if that ball was hit 9 out of 10 times, Mike Schmidt would have caught it.
Right.
And it went off his glove.
Right.
And Bo made a great play barehanded. And Lopes was out. I mean, if we would have had instant replay,
Right.
Reversal.
like we have today, he's out. That game's over. So, you know,
But I tell you what, you in the playoffs, especially that Houston series. I mean, talk about that Houston series. That Houston series was one of the
That was the most amazing
probably
series
the most
I've ever
amazing
seen.
series ever. Obviously, you guys won in 5 games. Every game except for game 1 went to extra innings.
Yep.
Right. The last game, you got Nolan Ryan on the mound. Right. And then Larry Boa, kicks it off. I mean, just what an! I remember as a kid, I'm 15 years old, and just man, it was the most exciting
I remember watching it.
series ever.
yeah, it was a great series, no question. Yeah, and funny part about that series is we never hit in the dome. We
Right.
used to get real good pitching in the Astrodome, but our bats would kind of go silent there.
That was a big
And,
joint too, man.
Yeah, and they had a nice ball club, and I don't know. I hit the only home run in that series.
Well, yeah, you had 2 game-winning hits in that
Yeah,
series.
and-
You had the 2-out, 2-run home
Yeah.
run in the bottom of the 6th, game 1.
Yeah.
Right, you're right. That was the only home run. Then you had the pinch hit RBI double to score Pete Rose atop the 10th in game 4.
Yep.
So, big time clutch.
Yeah, it was a big series. It was a lot of fun. And funny part about it is that Dallas Green was there, and he'd always try to be the tough guy. And Bobby Wine was
Wino.
he was the bench coach. And Wino kind of smooth things over all
Right.
the time. But I gotta say, Bobby didn't make alumni. I didn't know this till yesterday that he was in the hospital.
Oh.
Really? I didn't
Yeah, he's out now, but
He's supposed to be a guest on the Bull session in September.
they were talking about amputating his foot
Oh, wow.
because he's got neuropathy really
Yeah.
bad. But,
Okay.
so he couldn't make alumni. But I just heard about it yesterday. I was wondering why I wasn't there because he was in Cooperstown.
Yep.
Okay.
Good, thoughts for
Yeah,
Bobby Wine.
definitely.
man.
Thoughts and prayers out to
prayers.
Bobby Wine. Tommy, did you know that at one point, Bull held the consecutive game hitting streak record for a league championship series with 13? Wow. How about that?
That's impressive.
That's getting it done.
Yes, it really is getting it done.
All right, so
What's his name? Went crazy. The guy in Arizona. What's it? Martell? Who's the second baseman?
Yeah.
Marte.
Marte. Yeah.
Well, you look
Yeah.
at it. You start doing stuff like this, and to get that many games in the postseason back then
Yep.
is impressive. Now you got guys getting how many at bats in postseason because there are so many chances for you to get into postseason. So
Yeah.
Another thing that surprised me was, I don't know, I didn't think of anything about it until it happened this year when Morgan and myself hit in the same inning in Yankee Stadium, hit a home run. And that we were the only ones that ever did that till just last All-Star game.
Huh.
wow.
Did not know that. What was there a pitcher? I like asking this question. Was there a pitcher? Like, give me 2 things. Give me one, the best pitcher that you had their number, and give me like everyone's a good pitcher if you make it to the major leagues, but give me like the one guy that you got frustrated by. You couldn't see. You couldn't.
Whoever kind of owned you a little
Someone
bit.
just owned you and vexed you when he shouldn't have.
Well, I think best pitcher for me was Tom Seaver.
Okay.
Seaver was the type of guy that could win with bad stuff. He was just a great pitcher, but he had really, really good stuff. And the pitcher.
And you played well against him? That's what I'm saying. Like,
No, Steve
who did you do well against?
Steve Renko, probably hit the most home runs off of 7 or 8
Okay.
in a career. But he was a guy that'd get me 0-2 all the time or 1-2. And I knew he was going to hang a breaking ball.
Right.
You knew you were going to get something.
Yeah, and he did. And he made a mistake. He made a mistake.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the key to hitting is what? If we threw every pitch like we want to, where we want to, you're going to have a little bit of an issue.
That's right.
But it's about hitting those mistakes that they make their hay.
The guy that probably got me the most was Montefusco.
Yeah, the count.
The count, yeah. I remember.
That's a great name, man.
That's good.
I
John
remember.
Montefusco.
I got 2 short stories. First of all, the first time I ever seen Montefusco was down here in the tournament down South Jersey.
Okay.
And I was there with Mickey Mantle, sitting up there. We did an autograph thing, and we were there. They asked us to stay for a couple, 3 innings, so we were up in the stands. and Montefusco was pitching. And I said to Mantle, I don't know about you, but I said, this sucker, I don't know if I want to face him right now.
Right.
And Mantle said, well, I see him from the left side, so it'll be a little bit different, you know.
Yeah.
And then obviously he went to San Francisco, you know. And then Western was the manager, and we were in Philly. And West says, from the dugout, he goes like this, Ford, put him on. And Montefusco yelled from the mound, I'm going to strike him out. And I'm standing there going, whoa.
Right.
You know,
Swiss cheese you
yeah.
are?
And I hit a double off the wall. I got the second. It's probably the only time ever I was screaming.
Right.
Because I didn't say much, and I was screaming at him.
Well, hey, he pretty much deserved that, by the way.
Yeah, and he put his head down and walked off. West just started out of the dugout, put his foot on the top of the dugout in the vet, and Montefusco was already across the line.
Yeah. You made him lose count right there. All right, coming up on the show, Bull, I'm going to compare you and Schmitty with another big rival. In fact, one of them was honored at the Hall of Fame when you were up there. So we'll talk about that. You're listening to the Bull Session presented by BCWSA, live from Chickies and Pete's in South Philadelphia.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky Pete's. Our selection of seasonal cocktails make any meal better. Come sip and enjoy our bourbon cherry lemonade, made with small batch bourbon, muddled fruits, and refreshing juices. What a winner! Is fruit your flavor? Try a watermelon shandy cocktail. A smoky grapefruit with mezcal and fresh lime. Or sip and enjoy a berry martini. All pair perfectly with our seasonal menu features. Come sip and enjoy at Chickies and Pete's.
Head out to Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley and South Olds Boulevard, to get all your essentials in one place, with the following businesses ready to serve you: Pat Dion Beverages, CVS Pharmacy, Hair Cuttery, Smile Culture Dental, Biomat, Liberty Auto Tags, Pennsylvania Fine Wine and Spirits, Lee's Hoagie House, R&J Smoothies and Juices, AutoZone, and First National Bank and Trust of Newtown. Make Dion Square your one stop for all your shopping needs at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard in Fairless Hills.
With over 7,200 square feet of 200 brewers in stock at all times, Pat Dion Beverages now features 5 different flavors of their favorite slushy cocktails. You can also purchase all your wine, liquor, and other fine spirits right next door. Visit us on Facebook or online at patdionbeverages.com for upcoming events and samples from your favorite brewery or local food vendor.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at penncommunitybank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
Head out to Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley and South Olds Boulevard, to get all your essentials in one place, with the following businesses ready to serve you: Pat Dion Beverages, CVS Pharmacy, Hair Cuttery, Smile Culture Dental, Biomat, Liberty Auto Tags, Pennsylvania Fine Wine and Spirits, Lee's Hoagie House, R&J Smoothies and Juices, AutoZone, and First National Bank and Trust of Newtown. Make Dion Square your one stop for all your shopping needs at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard in Fairless Hills.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at penncommunitybank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies Director of Fun and Games, John Brazer, and Tommy Greene.
All right, we're back to the Bull Session presented by BC WSA live from Chicks and Pete's in South Philadelphia. I'm John Brazer, joined by my co-host Tommy Greene, our guest Greg Luzinski. Now, Bull, what would happen back in the day if all of a sudden that show that Duran, when he comes in, with the flames and the lights off and everyone puts their phone, and then you have the tarantula, what if they did that for you with the lights off, the phones, and you have a bull that's basically breathing fire out, right? Every time you came up to bat.
That's what would happen,
Well, that's baseball today, though.
isn't it?
You know, it's a show.
It is a show, yeah?
You know, that's part of the game. And
Have you seen it? Were you
yeah,
at the ballpark?
I-
Well, of course you were, yeah.
You know, I felt bad. I was up in the 73 up in the suite for the alumni, and I stayed late on the game, and there's John Middleton with his phone going.
Right, with the light? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So he was into
He
it.
was
Awesome.
one of them, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he had his light on, and
Yeah.
he was waving.
Yeah.
He was into it. I mean, nobody left the ballpark.
Right.
In 2
Exciting,
days.
Right. It's
No.
exciting. Now everyone's like, you know, you mentioned we got to win the division, right?
Yeah.
But we really do because we need to see that. I need to see the show.
Yeah.
Right? The
Yeah.
Durant out there. We might not.
Well,
we
I'll
better
tell you
have a
what.
home game.
Well, he's pretty impressive, what I've seen so
Yeah.
far.
Well, he gets it up there. He throws a split hard. You know, people don't.
They say he throws strikes with everything. They said you haven't seen his best pitch.
His last four
They said
pitch-
his best pitch is his hook.
His last four pitches were the hardest thrown
Yeah.
pitches at Citizens Bank in the history of Citizens Bank Park. His last four pitches,
Yeah.
last game,
That's pretty good.
103.
Yeah, getting it up there.
But yeah, then they called it. Tommy, I'll have to go to you on this one.
Yeah.
But they didn't call it a splitter. They called it a splinker, right? So it's
You
Doesn't
know
it-
what a splinker is?
doesn't a splitter sink anyway? Like what is?
Yeah, it does. You know, the best one was the guy from Chicago.
Suter?
Yeah, Bruce Suter.
Suter had a good one.
And he threw it hard.
I witnessed. I played with Bruce a little bit, but it was at the tail end of his career. But the one I saw was very impressive. It was Harvey. Remember when he used to be with? He threw.
California.
And he come to the Marlins. If it was over once
But
he got to that pitch, it was hard. It come in like that and just bottomed out, dude. It looked just like a heater.
When they throw it off their fastball, that's the tough one.
But what is the difference between a splitter and a splinker? Like I know it's a combination of split.
I
and
think
sinker.
it's just maybe it could be the way they hold it. You
Okay.
know, I mean, it's a little bit different.
It might sink a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, some guy.
Suiters,
Splitters,
the
Suiter
truth
would go
went
down.
straight down.
Yeah, that's what Harvey's did. It went like that.
All right, I want to go. So I was looking some stats up with Dave Parker, the Cobra, getting into the Hall of Fame. You were up there, Bull,
He's
for
one of
that,
my favorite
right?
guys too.
Now, I was thinking about there's a lot of similarities. You know, our biggest rival back in the 70s, other than the Dodgers, right, was really the Pirates, because the Pirates were in our division, right? But it was kind of eerie, the similarities between Schmitty and Bull and Stargell and Parker.
Yeah.
Okay? And when you look at the numbers, I did the comparison here, and this is just Philly stats, so I don't count stats for when you played the White Sox. I didn't count stats for when Parker played for different teams. This is just Bull and Schmitty with the Phillies, Stargell and Parker with the Pirates. The WAR, if you want to do like accumulation, wins above average, you guys had a combined 126. They had 92.4. You both had over 12,000 at bats, 12,982 for you guys, 12,775 at bats for them. 3,533 hits for you guys, 3,711 for them. You guys batted 272 batting average. They had 290, but you guys crushed them on the home runs. 771 home runs to 641 home runs. You guys had a combined 16 All-Star appearances. They had 11 All-Star appearances. You guys had a combined 29 seasons with the Phillies. They had a combined 32 seasons with the Phillies. And even the RBIs are similar, 2406 for you guys, 2298 for that. So, I mean, you're talking very similar situations with you and Schmitty and, again, the Cobra and Stargell.
Yeah, well, back then there was two divisions.
Yep.
And they were battles. That it was the East came down to Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, and we battled back and forth. You know, there was like one year where whoever batted last won.
Yeah.
You know, whoever was the bottom of the ninth, that was the team that was going to win. That's how it went back and forth, and we got in a few tussles with them.
Yeah, there were some hard-nosed games they played.
How did you fare against Teak? Because Teak had that, you know, the sidearm
tough,
delivery.
boy.
Was he tough on your?
You know, I think they talk about the pitcher with a slurve now. I think it's
sweeper or whatever you want to call it.
he couldn't throw a curveball.
Yeah.
Because of his arm position, and the slider even was hard for him to throw. You know, so his pitch was more of a swerve. You know, and you didn't see many of those.
Well, we call it slurves or the days of sweepers.
Yeah, sweepers. Same
Plus he had the
thing.
really long arm and tall
they got the same pitches.
Yeah.
You can't invent pitches, but you can change the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sinker, slider,
Splinker.
You know, before it was the in shoot, the out shoot.
Right.
You know,
What was Tug? What was
the
Tug?
riser.
The riser.
And Tugger had the
Screwball. Him and Valenzuela.
But that was kind of a new pitch, right?
Yeah.
It's this way.
Well, him and Mike Marshall threw it out of the bullpen for Montreal and the Dodgers. He was right-handed. Tug threw it left-handed.
Yeah.
You know, obviously.
Valenzuela did it.
Yeah, Venezuela did it. And it's like the knuckleball. You know, I think there's only one guy now throwing a knuckleball, the guy out of the
San Diego, right?
Well, San Diego, yeah. That just started.
Yeah.
Why don't you see more pitchers throwing knuckleball?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Maybe I would have back in the day.
Maybe they're teaching them not to do it because.
Is it that hard to throw, I guess?
Well, I mean,
it's a push more of a throw,
well,
isn't
I mean,
it?
it's an art to it. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I got a chance to talk to one of the best. He was my coach with Atlanta, with Necro.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's the first time I ever caught a ball that I could actually read the label on. No, I can't say I caught it because I didn't get glove on it. It went around my glove when I tried to catch it.
Right.
It was actually a butterfly.
We used to have a bet, Necro and myself, and it was if I had the better of him, he'd send me Kabasa, and if he had it was the opposite.
Yeah.
And the one day in Atlanta, this is a true story. He broke my bat. The bat and I had the handle in my hand. All right, so I kept it in my hand. I ran the first base because in those days we ran.
Right.
You know, I ran to first base, and then our dugout was on the third base side, so I went up to the mound and I presented him with the handle, and then ran into the dugout. I said, I don't know if you do this often, but here.
So did you win the kielbasa?
No, he got it.
He got it that time.
He got it that time. I had to send it over.
All right, then the one thing we didn't talk about, you go to the White Sox, so that must have been a little different, right?
Yeah.
And
Who'd you play with there? Who was the team?
We had a good team. You know, Fisk. We had new owners, first of all, came in. Reinsdorf and Einhorn, and they changed it around. They went out and signed Carlton Fisk, Ron LaFleur in center. I went over there in a cash deal from the Phillies. So you know, they changed it. Baines was in his second year, so you know, we had a pretty good lineup. And then you know, Pachork came over for the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. He played some first base, and there was a kid that came up in actually '83, Walker. He was a Philly at one time, and he played first base. Him and Pachork were over there. We had a nice team. Rudy Lawn center could run. You know.
well, you set a record for most home runs in a season by a designated hitter with 32, and 3 times you hit the roof of the old Comiskey Park in Chicago. You hit 5 home runs in 5 consecutive games, which is a franchise mark, which has since been tied by Frank Thomas, Carlos Lee, Paul Konerko, and Ron Kittle. That's pretty good company.
Pretty good names right there.
Right? And then you guys lost to Baltimore, I guess, in the '83 ALCS. 3 games to
extra
1.
innings.
Yeah.
And the funny part about it is they moved me to first base in a bunch of games because we won. As soon as we won our division, then I start playing first base. And the reason being is that if we would have beat Baltimore in the series, then we would have faced Phillies in '83.
Yeah.
Right.
And there would have been no DH in the vet, so I would have been playing first base. I had it all figured out, too, because Rose was there, And I don't know if people remember how he used to bang, spike the
Yeah,
ball.
yes.
Yeah, I had my spike all ready for him.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Come on, why didn't you guys beat
gotta-
that?
you gotta
I would
bring-
have loved
I'd
to
love
see
to see that.
Oh, that place would have roared. You kidding me?
Now, speaking of roar, talk about the uniform you had to wear.
I was all right with
for
that
the
uniform.
Chicago White Sox.
I didn't have to wear shorts.
Tommy, you know what I'm talking about? The jersey
Oh, the
they
short
had?
ones?
I didn't mind those. The only
Describe to the listeners
You know
what was the uniform.
well, it's just a pullover, but the only thing they did is they had flaps on there. So if the wind would blow, sometimes the flaps would. So I had them Velcroed down finally, but that bothered me. But it was easy. You throw a pair of pants on, you put a shirt on, you go out and play. I mean, you didn't have.
So when they presented that uniform to you in the locker room, were you guys like, what do we got here? Like, what,
I only wore it for a year,
Okay.
and then they came out. Actually, Einhorn's girlfriend redesigned the uniforms. Then
so you never had to wear the shorts?
No.
Right. What year was that?
That was an emphatic.
I was actually.
Was that after you guys?
That was before.
After you? Or before you?
Yeah, with Bill Veck had the team.
Right.
Wear shorts playing baseball. Jeez.
Yeah, and then they wear the socks all the way up.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know.
Knickers.
Well, he Bill Veck was a guy that wanted to do a lot of things. He was like the guy from Oakland.
Oh, right.
Finley.
Yep.
Finley wanted to use an orange ball. They used it in spring training, I think, in Arizona that one year.
God, that's got to be weird.
Well, Bill Veck's son, Mike Veck, did the Disco Demolition.
Yeah.
And I met Mike, and he got basically fired from baseball. He got banned from baseball because they basically ruined Comiskey Field, right?
Yeah, 'cause they couldn't play.
They couldn't play. So I went down to a conference. It was a minor league conference. And he was wondering why someone from the major leagues was down there. But I went with a couple of people, Chrissy Long and Kurt Funk. And I gave my card to Mike Veck. And my card at the time said Director of Fun and Games. And he said he hates, he hated Major League Baseball. And he said, Major League Baseball allows you to have this title? I said, yeah, I just gave it to myself. So he said, can I have the card? I gave him the card. Bill Murray is his partner. A year later, Bill Murray's title, look it up right now, his title is Director of Fun. So Bill Murray stole my title, Bull. How about that?
I still laugh every time I hear that, Brazer.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go to break.
Fun and games.
Let's go to break. When we come back, let's talk about some of the sponsor trips, some of the cruises, Bulls barbecue, all that. We got a lot to talk about with the great Greg Luzinski coming up, presented by BCWSA.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicken Pete's. Our selection of seasonal cocktails make any meal better. Come sip and enjoy our bourbon cherry lemonade, made with small batch bourbon, muddled fruits, and refreshing juices. What a winner! Is fruit your flavor? Try a watermelon shandy cocktail. A smoky grapefruit with mezcal and fresh lime. Or sip and enjoy a very, very martini. All pair perfectly with our seasonal menu features. Come sip and enjoy at Chickies and Pete's.
Head out to Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley and South Olds Boulevard, to get all your essentials in one place, with the following businesses ready to serve you: Pat Dion Beverages, CVS Pharmacy, Hair Cuttery, Smile Culture Dental, Biomat, Liberty Auto Tags, Pennsylvania Fine Wine and Spirits, Lee's Hoagie House, R&J Smoothies and Juices, AutoZone, and First National Bank and Trust of Newtown. Make Dion Square your one stop for all your shopping needs at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard in Fairless Hills.
With over 7,200 square feet of 200 brewers in stock at all times, Pat Dion Beverages now features 5 different flavors of their favorite slushy cocktails. You can also purchase all your wine, liquor, and other fine spirits right next door. Visit us on Facebook or online at patdionbeverages.com for upcoming events and samples from your favorite brewery or local food vendor.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at PennCommunityBank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
Hi, it's
Head out to Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley and South Olds Boulevard, to get all your essentials in one place, with the following businesses ready to serve you: Pat Dion Beverages, CVS Pharmacy, Hair Cuttery, Smile Culture Dental, Biomat, Liberty Auto Tags, Pennsylvania Fine Wine and Spirits, Lee's Hoagie House, R&J Smoothies and Juices, AutoZone, and First National Bank and Trust of Newtown. Make Dion Square your one stop for all your shopping needs at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard in Fairless Hills.
We now return to Chickies and Pete's for the Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies Director of Fun and Games, John Brazer, and Tommy Greene.
All right, we are back to the Bull Session presented by BC WSA, live from Chickies and Pete's in South Philadelphia. I'm John Brazer, joined by my co-host Tommy Greene, our guest Greg the Bull Luzinski. And now, Tommy, you and Bull do a lot of fun things as a Phillies ambassador, not ambassador, but maybe as someone that is around the area.
Yeah, around
Love
there.
to have you come in as ambassador.
We're involved with the organization in that aspect. Yeah.
But I know you guys go on road trips. So, Bull, you're still doing road trips, right? Scott Palmer, Phillies Vacations, right?
Yeah, I didn't go on one this year. I think Mickey went on one, Tommy went on one, and
and Milt.
Milt went to Atlanta.
That's because you were in
Cooperstown.
Right. So usually
But,
you guys will go to like maybe San Diego or Chicago, or it's
Trips have been good, And then they also do spring training trips. So
Yep.
We're doing a winter trip cruise this year.
And who's on that cruise? Do you know?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
No, they don't know.
And where do you normally
hush,
go?
Hush.
Where do you normally go? You go.
Well, I was at Western Caribbean last year, and I think this year we're going to do some of the ports in Mexico and down to Belize and around there. We're leaving. We're going to be leaving from Tampa, so makes it easier for the people. I'm sure they're going to have seats available to go from Philadelphia right to Tampa to stay in the hotel. I forget what hotel we're staying in Tampa, and then we'll go to the port, take off.
And you have a lot of fun people there. You got the Shot Sisters, right?
Well,
man, there's some good people to go on there.
They haven't been on recently. They've been on a couple trips, but they're getting a little older, and
they're good people.
Too many shots.
One of them has a hard time walking.
Okay.
So, but they're great people, and they've been on a lot of trips. They're doing a thing. I think a fantasy camp now where they're doing like a Hall of Fame thing for guys that have been there, X amount of years.
Right.
They're going to start doing that, which kind of neat. And we've got people that travel with us almost on every trip.
It's unbelievable. That's what's it's like an extended family
you guys
almost.
should have like a little Hall of Fame for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we do have an extended family. They're all good people.
And I bet you see with Bull's Barbecue, you probably see a lot of the. I know.
Well,
'cause I'm always coming over and saying hi.
Yeah.
I think you probably get a lot of people that come over there and say hi.
Yeah. Well, they come over in a group. They meet there.
Right.
All these people that have been on the cruises and these trips, and some of them, they'll come up and say, "You remember me," and their faces, but you don't know their name. You forget their names. You meet
because you're not around them every day.
You're meeting so many people all the time.
Now, Tommy, I always bring.
You know what? You meet so many people like the Wiggles.
Yeah.
Well, I was just about to say.
The Wiggles.
I bring celebrities all the time
Yeah.
over to Bull. I just brought over a guy named Adam Shapiro, who's in the show The Bear, and his wife was in Scandal. Now
The Hunting Wives,
which I saw an ad for that after that day. I spent all night with him, and next I started watching it. It's a little racy, but she plays the preacher's wife, so. Not racing with her, but I'll bring a lot of celebrities by. I mean, I can't tell you how many different celebrities rock singers and bands and whatever. And the one time that, he's a little gruff at first, right? He's like, "Hey, Bull, this sounds like," right? But then he warms up a little bit. But the one where he didn't have to warm up is I brought the Wiggles over to Bull's Barbecue. And
There's some grandchildren involved in that.
We didn't even get within 20 yards, and Bull jumps out of his seat and says, the Wiggles.
You know, the funny part about it is when they came around that corner, they were energetic. It was coming out of them already.
Yeah, they were in their outfits. They had the red, the blue, Murray.
They did a little thing in front of me, you know.
Right.
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah. And then, another time you got excited, I don't know if you remember this, is I had like a pit crew from some, like, I forget, some NASCAR driver.
NASCAR,
But I brought a pit crew, and Bull got really excited, and he started asking him all kinds of questions about, about how do you guys do that, how do you change a tire that quick, what do you do here, you know what I mean? It was, and that was
a lot of these pit crews now have gone to athletes, ex-athletes.
Yes, they do.
But, it's interesting. Denny Hamlin he was with Toyota for such a long time. And because Paul Muller, and I've been connected a little bit with Toyota, I got to meet these guys.
Right.
So all of a sudden you become a fan.
You're right.
And I like NASCAR, but, now the ex-football coach Jones, he had all his cars are Toyota.
Joe Gibbs, right,
Joe
right.
Gibbs, yeah. So.
Who is the biggest celebrity that you've met that you were most excited to meet? And in your either when you were a player or as a
Don Rickles used to get me on stage.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Don Rickles.
Yeah.
Right? Did he call you a hockey puck? What do you?
Oh, he just went off, And then I was good friends with. Well, I met Sinatra.
Yeah.
And then I was good friends with his son, Junior. And so
that's
we go to I used to go to California. Frank was sitting in, or Rickles was sitting in Frank's seats. Frank used to have seats right behind a visiting dugout. So I kind of held on to it, and I said, you're in Frankie's seats. And then he started on that whole act. He did a whole show of up there standing up.
Is that right?
And obviously people all around him knew who he was. So.
Right.
And we also had Shecky Greene come into the clubhouse. He was
really?
He was friends with Danny Ozark.
Oh.
And Bobby Wine had gone out and presented the scorecard lineup to home plate, but there wasn't. The only people we were missing was the starting pitcher and the bullpen and the catcher. The rest of us were in a dugout, not in the dugout, in the clubhouse in L.A., and he was putting on a show inside. And Wino had to come in and get us and say, hey, national anthem's over. The game's getting ready to start. They're on the field.
Y'all was still in there
I'm with
having
Shecky.
a great time.
I'm with Shecky. Come on.
Where was Shecky? Go ahead. Go ahead and play the game for a while, or just play catch out there. I had Rob Reinert come out, too, when they had Hollywood Stars game. He had his uniform on, and he came out and was shagging with me. And all you hear, hey, meathead.
Right.
So I finally said, man, you're taking a lot of pressure off me.
I want to know, how long did it take you when you started playing with Boa till you wanted to pick him up and strangle him?
Well, he knew. He knew when he was getting to me a little bit, and if I said
he could turn the screws on you a little bit.
I just said enough, Lair. And if he did it, I said, Lair, I told you enough, and then he knew.
You never had to pick him up by the neck and hold him against the wall.
No, but I did that. I didn't meet him that way. I had to change rooms in '68. I went from Rodriguez to get a room with Larry Bowen, and they put me in the room, and we had he was playing shortstop and learning how to hit left-handed, but Ron Hunt went into second base, and the guy running down the line was slower than Hunt, and I said, don't be afraid of a little contact. And he thought I meant hitting, So he started chirping and chirping. I got in the room, he's chirping. I grabbed him. Right. I grabbed him by the shirt with my left hand, and I pulled him. And I went to hit him, and Vuk stepped in, and I hit Vuk.
Oh, is that right? Wow. What happened after that?
Nothing.
Nothing.
We never had an altercation
right.
again, I think he's a little afraid.
Right.
In fact, that year we drove back. He drove back with me to Illinois, and it's the first time he saw snow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sound like me back in the day.
So we had a few firsts together.
Yeah. Now, also, we just had alumni weekend. So what was your relationship like with Lefty? Because Steve Carlton was there all
Yeah,
weekend.
Lefty's a good guy. People, he's changed a
love
lot
Lefty.
right
Yes,
now
yeah.
compared to when he played. I mean, when he played, he was a serious type guy, especially when he pitched. When he'd sit on the bench, people, and he'd just sit there like this, and all of a sudden he'd go, "Let's go, guys. Use your ability. Just play to your ability. Play to your ability. Let's go. Play to your ability."
Yeah.
And he'd go out there and pitch.
Yeah.
And you ask him now, how many pitches did it take you before they took you out? He said 9 innings.
Nine
right?
innings.
Yeah. He said he threw 185 pitches one game.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Doesn't shock me back in those days whatsoever.
Yeah. He said, what's his name went to 200, I think, Nolan Ryan.
Wow.
I was just in on the listening to the conversation, and that was in the runway before we went out. And he said, "Yeah, 185 pitches." I went, "Wow, that's a lot of pitches."
And how about
at 4 days rest,
yeah?
or 3 days rest,
Pitching
pitching
on
on
the
the
fourth
fourth
day.
day.
And then in '79, you guys got Pete Rose. What was that? What was it like? 'Cause,
Well,
same thing.
it was nice to get Pete Rose. Obviously, we were friends with him before that. Even though he played in Cincinnati, after the games, we'd go out. He'd take us out to Boa, myself, Schmitty. He'd take us out to dinner, and so we knew Pete. I think that probably helped him make a decision to come to Philly because he knew us, and that helps. That helps a little bit. But
was he the greatest hitter you've ever seen personally?
He's a great player.
Yeah.
No one's going to break that record.
Right.
As many hits as he's got, the hit king.
I mean, the only one that would have had a chance was Ichiro if he started in major leagues.
Right.
You know what I mean?
right.
If he had his whole career.
Yeah, because he played almost 10 years
Yeah.
in Japan.
Yeah.
But no, he was good. He was good. He helped Schmitty as much as anybody I've seen because he made Schmitty start believing in himself. Even though Mike hit home runs every year, he started hitting average-wise a little better. And Pete would be in Schmitty's ear all the time. "You're the greatest that ever played over there, man. You're the greatest. Let's go. Have confidence in yourself.
Yep.
Don't worry about it. And Pete built him up, and he talked to him that way every day.
I saw Booney was here obviously over the weekend, and when people ask Bob about the play that everyone remembers, where he says, "Pete Rose my butt." He said that was his play from the get-go because he can see that coming in from first base. I got to take a mask off. I got to look up in the air. I got to try to find it. And all of a sudden
And the ball's going that other way,
And he says,
too.
"I'm looking. Where's Pete? Where's Pete? Where's Pete?"
Oh, he was there.
And I stick my glove out, and then Pete catches it, and Pete gets all the credit, and I get, I'm basically saying everyone bailed you out.
Well, to be honest with you, it was a tough play for Bob. He had to go a long way.
Right.
And that's why in the story he says, "Where's the first baseman?" But, it went off his glove and Pete caught it. Now, I don't think many first basemen would have been there.
Right.
True.
But that's the way Pete played, and he was there and he caught that. And it was obviously a big out for the inning, but Pete was baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all he talked. Once he came through that clubhouse door, it was a serious time.
Do you think he'll get in the Hall of Fame eventually?
I think eventually, the Hall of Fame. I think if they're going to change a rule like that, they need to think about the PEDs and guys that like McGuire, Sosa.
Right.
They had a contest going on at the end of the year where TV was switching from Sosa to McGuire back to Sosa. This guy hit a home run in every at bat, and the Major League Baseball was going cha-ching,
Right.
cha-ching. And then all of a sudden, you can't get in the Hall of Fame. I just don't agree with it.
Right.
I think that was an era of baseball that all of a sudden nobody paid attention to. Then they brought baseball back.
Yep.
And they're suffering from it now.
All right, well, that wraps up this week's Brazer session. Sorry, Bull session. Bull session presented by VCWSA. I'd like to thank my co-host, Tommy Greene. Our guest today, Greg Luzinski, back in the studio. Gus Barber. Our on-site engineer, Chris Hermer. Thanks also to Pete Cherokee, Tommy, and the great staff here at Chickies and Pete's, South Philly. for hosting us today. We're going to be back next Monday at 5:30 at Chickies and Pete's in Malvern, PA. Tommy and I are going to interview former UVA player, Phillies infielder Phil Gosselin.
How about
local
Phil?
guy
I haven't seen him forever,
out of
man.
Malvern Prep. So we're going to talk to Phil. Meanwhile, have a great week, and as the late, great Harry the K says,
We're out of here.